What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your #1 place to catch up on crypto. Now, today I want to talk to you all about what's going on in the broad market. We're going to take a look at a couple different metrics to get fully caught up on where we are right now, and then I'm going to tell you why something that is happening in the background at the moment is extremely bullish and you need to watch it extremely closely. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's catch up on crypto, guys. And don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin and KASPA, JASMY, ETH, and many more on all the way up to 100x leverage, you can use my Margex link down in the description below. And the great part about it is, guys, whenever you do sign up with my Margex link, you're not going to need to KYC, meaning you don't need to give them your personal information. You just sign up and start trading, and you're going to also get up to $10,000 worth of bonuses when you do that. And so make sure that you do go check that out down below. Don't miss out on a deal like that. It's too damn good. Now, overall, we have been seeing this crypto market absolutely crushing it over the last week, and the last day has been a little bit red, right? Shiba Inu, Alio, Hex, CKB, some of these other ones are a little bit down, but as I mentioned before, some of them are still green. ENA, Beam, Tau, and some of these others are still pretty green. But in the grand scheme of things, things are still very up right now. I mean, we look at total market cap right now, even though, again, we are seeing this little red day, it's really just a drop in the bucket for this absolutely beautiful push that this market's made. And realistically, the last few weeks straight, we've seen this crypto market push up 27-30%. So seeing a little bit of a pullback of, 4 or 5%, really not a big deal whatsoever. And I would even go to say that this is a good thing. You know what I mean? Whenever you get these rallies to the upside like this, it's normal, it's natural for this market to want to pull back, cool down, consolidate a little bit before trying to continue upward. So overall, at the end of the day, we did set the higher high here. That's all that really matters. So a pullback right now doesn't really make a big difference. Now, looking at this thing from a fundamental perspective, what we can see is we still are roughly in the greed area. We're barely hanging on it. I would be willing to bet that after today, we definitely pull back towards the middle of the neutral zone, maybe like 50, 48, 49 or something like that. But overall, things are still somewhat overextended to the top side, and that is, something that you always want to keep in mind, because even though we have started pulling back, we might see this continue a little bit further until we do get out of that greed zone. Now, looking at this from an RSI perspective, let's go back down here. Looking at this from an RSI perspective, what we can see here is things have started to correct a little bit, right? So the 24-hour average RSI has now fallen back within its neutral zone, which is a good thing, because we were getting very extended. We saw so many big cryptos, good cryptos in the strong and overbought zones, which historically means we're just going too far, too fast to the upside. We're probably going to pull back. So seeing here on the 24-hour RSIs that we are getting closer and closer back to a zone of neutrality, I think that's a very good thing, because it means, one, that this is correcting and cooling down properly and naturally, but two, that we could see a little buying opportunity opening up soon here. And that's on the 24 hours. And if we do go out to the weeklies are still below the 50% threshold, which historically is a very good sign. Historically speaking, when you're below that 50% threshold and you're pumping, it means that you could easily pump a lot more. And so because of that, I definitely am in a pretty good spot. Obviously, as I mentioned before, 24-hour RSI is pretty close to the strong zone and overbought zone, so it's not the best time to be buying in the world yet, and we definitely could continue a little bit lower as this little pullback or correction does continue, but we are getting closer and closer to a better time to dollar cost average, and of course the bottom of what I think is going to just be a short-term correction. I think this is going to be a short-term correction. We're going to find some support and we're going to try to continue upwards, and so because of that, it means that we're definitely on the way. Now, looking a little bit deeper, okay, and what I wanted to focus on today is actually a very good sign, which does kind of piggyback off of this very well, and it's what we're seeing from liquidations. Now, as many of you do know, whenever we started to see this move to the upside, okay, we started to see liquidations going absolutely nuts to the bottom side. Whenever we started pushing from, when Bitcoin itself, I mean, we can even go look at Bitcoin right now, but when Bitcoin started pushing from like 58,000, let's say $63,000, $64,000, the liquidations to the downside went up like crazy. And what that means is that as Bitcoin was pumping, people were going so hard on leverage, and they were long trading, or, they were betting with a lot of money. The easiest way to explain it, okay? Betting with a lot of money that it was going to continue higher. And the issue is that when you make those types of bets that this market's going to continue higher, if it goes down a certain amount, you'll lose, because you got to think, you're not using just your money, you're using the house's money. So the house is going to decide, okay, there's a certain level where we're going to take our money back because you're not making a good trade. And that's what was happening. And so as this market was pushing upwards, we were seeing these freaking liquidations like sitting right here, just a ton of them. And I've always told you that's never a good thing for bulls, right? When this market's moving upwards and there's a ton of liquidations directly below you, it means that the likelihood of a pullback is getting higher and higher and higher, and eventually you will see some type of correction. It's just natural. It's what must happen. in this market, right? And so that's what had been happening. Well, what you can start to see is that the tide is changing. After this pullback, this little cool down that we've been seeing over the last few days, the tide is changing. As you can see here on the one-day liquidation map, we can see that there are now more liquidations that will happen to the upside than the downside. The way you can identify that if you are new here is by looking at the green line versus the red line. The green line is the amount of liquidations that will happen if the price goes up. The red line is the amount of liquidations that will happen if the price goes down. And so what you can see here is that the green line's higher than the red line, which means more liquidations will happen if this market goes up than if it goes down. Now, why is this important? Well, it's the opposite. It's kind of like the vice versa, what we saw before. When this market started to pull back a little bit right now, everyone's like, oh no, that was the top. We're not back in a bull market. The rally's over, blah, blah, blah. So they start going short. And they go short on high leverage to an extent in which they will get liquidated if this market goes the other way, if they're wrong, and this market pushes upwards. And as I mentioned before, when you start building up a lot of liquidations, the likelihood of this market pushing into those liquidations is extremely high. And so whenever I see something like this, it tells me that there's a good chance that even if we do continue a little bit lower, that we do see this market find some support and then try to bounce back to the upside to go liquidate all of these short traders who are going short right now. Now, what you can see is that the 1 day is full of liquidations. The 7 day is full of liquidations to the upside as well. But the 30 day is still lagging behind a little bit. And so, of course, what this does show is that, you know, from a grander perspective, there are still a good bit of liquidations that will happen if this market pushes downwards. And so we might need to, keep that in mind. This market might push a little lower. This market might push to $60,000 to finish these liquidations to the downside prior to starting to eat up some of these liquidations on the shorter time frames. That's very possible, especially when you align that with the crypto fear and greed index, which is still a little bit greedy. When you align that with the average RSI across our top 100 cryptos, which is still a little bit high, it does make it out in which the thought, okay, we might continue a little bit lower. We may continue downwards, trying to liquidate some of these people, try to find some macro support, and then I expect another move to the upside, because I do expect that we've gotten this close. It's very likely that Bitcoin retests the top side of this channel, and because of that, it will of course need another move to the upside. And so because of this, guys, those are just my general thoughts, and I do think the fact that we are seeing these liquidations flipping like this so fast, it's a very good sign, because in these little cool downs, you want to see people going short. You want to see people screaming and getting scared and be worried, because they're typically wrong. You have to remember, we're in a macro bull market, guys. We're in a macro bull market. These types of pullbacks are going to happen, but at the end of the day, the market will typically move in the same direction, which is upwards. And so in moments like this is a great sign when these liquidations flip back to the bullish side like that, and you need to always keep a close eye on them. Now, guys, don't forget, one thing I do want to remind you, I do have a Patreon. It is linked down below. If you do want to see some daily technical analysis, daily fundamental analysis, a daily newsletter, which we're making even better right now, some of my trades and buys and portfolio changes when I make them, early video access, and much more, you guys can go check that out down in the description below. And while you are down there, don't forget, if you do want to sign up to Margex, you can do that to get up to $10,000 in bonuses. But overall, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy catching up with crypto catching up on crypto on this Monday morning with us here on the Crypto Catch Up. And I can't wait to see you all later today for a JASMY video. Peace out, everybody.